The Secret of the Ages, abridged, by Robert Collier, read by Vincent Bagnall. The world is yours when you master the secret of the ages. You can have anything you want: money, a better job, honors, time for travel, for study, for good times, recreations, the love of those dear to you, anything that is good, when you learn the secrets of the ages and find your powerful inner mind deep within you. You and only you are the true master of your destiny. The power to be whatever you want to be, to get what you want in life, to accomplish whatever you are striving for, lies dormant, sleeping within you until you call upon it. You need only to bring it forth and put it to work. How to do that is what you're going to learn in this book. Psychologists the world over agree on this, that the mind is all that matters. You can be whatever you make up your mind to be. You need not be sick, you need not be unhappy, you need not be unsuccessful. You are not a mere clod on this earth. You are not a beast of burden doomed to spend your life on a job of drudgery in order to meet the monthly bills. William James, the world-famous Harvard psychologist, estimated that the average man uses only about 10% of his actual potential mental power. Think of it, only 10%. He has unlimited power, yet ignores 90% of it. Unlimited wealth all about him, and he doesn't know how to take hold of it. With powerful forces slumbering within him, he is content to continue in his daily grind, eating, sleeping, working, plodding through a dull, routine existence. Yet all of nature, all of life calls upon him to awake and bestir himself. You are one of the lords of the earth, with unlimited potentialities. Within you is a power which, properly grasped and directed, can lift you out of the rut of mediocrity and place you among the elect of the earth, the doers, the thinkers, the leaders among men. It rests with you and you only to use this power, which is your neglected heritage, this mind which can do all things. Secret number one, your subconscious, the genie of your mind. It matters not how straight the gate, how charged with punishment the scroll. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. Henley. First came the Stone Age, when life was for the strong of arm or the fleet of foot. Then there was the Iron Age, and while life was more precious, still the strong lorded it over the weak. Later came the Golden Age, and riches took the place of strength, but the poor found little choice between the slave drivers' whips of olden days and the grim weapons of poverty and starvation. Now we are entering a new age, the atomic age, which is really the age of mind, when every man can be his own master, when poverty and circumstances no longer hold power, and the lowliest creature in the land can win a place side by side with the highest. To those who do not know the resources of mind, these will sound like rash statements, but science proves beyond question that in the well springs of every man's mind are unplumbed depths, undiscovered deposits of energy, wisdom, and ability. Sound these depths, bring these treasures to the surface, and you gain an astounding wealth of new power. From the rude catamaran of the savages to the giant liners of today, carrying their thousands from continent to continent is but a step in the development of mind. From the lowly caveman cowering in his burrow in fear of lightning or fear or water, to the engineer of today making servants of all the forces of nature, is but a measure of difference in mental development. Man, without reasoning mind, would be as the monkeys are, prey of any creature fast enough and strong enough to pull him to pieces, at the mercy of wind and weather. A poor, timid creature, living for the moment only, fearful of every shadow. Through his superior mind, He learned to make fire to keep himself warm, weapons with which to defend himself from the savage creatures round about, habitations to protect himself from the elements. Through mind he conquered the forces of nature. Through mind he has made machinery do the work of millions of horses and billions of hands. What he will do next, no one knows, for man is just beginning to awaken to his own powers. He has split the atom. Now he is harnessing its power. He is beginning to get an inkling of the unfathomed riches that are buried deep in his own mind. Like the gold seekers of 49, he has panned the surface gravel for the gold, swept down by the streams, and now he is starting to dig deeper to the pure vein beneath. Conscious mind. When you say, I see, I hear, I smell, I touch, it is your conscious mind that is saying this, for it is the force governing the 5 physical senses. It is the phase of mind with which you feel and reason, the phase of mind with which everyone is familiar. It is the mind with which you do business. It controls, to a great extent, all your voluntary muscles. It discriminates between right and wrong, wise and foolish. It is the generalissimo in charge of all your mental forces. It can plan ahead and get things done as it plans, or it can drift along haphazardly, a creature of impulse at the mercy of a bit of flotsam in the current of life. For it is only through your conscious mind that you can reach the subconscious and the superconscious mind. Your conscious mind is the porter at the door, the watchman at the gate. It is to the conscious mind that the subconscious looks for all its impressions. It is on it that the subconscious mind must depend for the teamwork necessary to get successful results. You wouldn't expect much from an army, no matter how fine its soldiers, whose general never planned ahead, who distrusted his own ability and that of his men, and who spent all of his time worrying about the enemy instead of planning how he might conquer them. The most important province of your conscious mind is to center your thoughts on the thing you want. Believe that you will receive, and then shut the door on every suggestion of fear or worry or failure. If you once again gain the ability to do that, nothing else is impossible for you. For the subconscious mind does not reason inductively. It takes the thoughts you send into it and works them out to their logical conclusion. Send to it thoughts of health and strength, and it will work out health and strength in your body. Let suggestions of disease, fear of sickness, or accident penetrate to it, either through your own beliefs or the talk of those around you, and you are very likely to see the manifestation of disease working out in yourself. The subconscious mind. Can you tell me how much water, how much salt, how much of each different element there should be in your blood to maintain its proper, specific gravity if you are leading an ordinary sedentary life? How much and how quickly these proportions must be changed if you play a fast game of tennis, or run for your car, or chop wood, or indulge in any other violent exercise? Do you know how much water you should drink to neutralize the excess salt in salt fish? How much you lose through perspiration? Do you know how much water, how much salt, how much of each different element in your food should be absorbed into your blood each day to maintain perfect health? No? Well, it need not worry you. Neither does anyone else, not even the greatest physicists and chemists and mathematicians, but your subconscious mind knows. And it doesn't have to stop to figure it out. It does it almost automatically. It is one of those lightning calculators. And this is but one of thousands of such jobs it performs every hour of the day. The greatest mathematicians in the land, the most renowned chemists, could never do in a year's time the abstruse problems which your subconscious mind solves every minute. Under ordinary conditions, it attends faithfully to its duties and leaves your conscious mind to direct the outer life of the body. But let the conscious mind meet some situation with which it is unable to cope, and if it will only call upon the subconscious, that powerful genie will respond immediately to its need. You have heard of people who have been through great danger tell how, When death stared them in the face and there seemed nothing they could do, things went black before them, and when they came to, the danger was past. In the moment of need, their subconscious mind pushed the conscious out of the way, while it met and overcame the danger. Impelled by the subconscious mind, their bodies could do things absolutely impossible to their ordinary conscious selves. For the power of the subconscious mind is unlimited. Whatever is necessary for you to do in any right cause, it can give you the strength and ability to do. Whatever good you may desire, it can bring to you. The kingdom of heaven is within you. But remember this, the subconscious works beneath the surface, and it reasons logically, deductively, from the facts that are given it. It will not go contrary to those facts. If you want to change it, you must give it new and stronger facts to work upon. Not only that, but you must nullify the original facts. The universal mind. Have you ever dug up a potato vine and seen the potatoes clustering underneath? How much intelligence do you suppose one of these potatoes has? Do you think it knows anything about chemistry and geology? Can it figure out how to gather carbon gas from the atmosphere, water, and all the necessary kinds of nutriment from the earth ground, about to manufacture into sugar and starch and alcohol? No chemist can do it. How do you suppose the potato knows? Well, of course it doesn't. It has no sense. Yet it does all these things. It builds the starch into cells, the cells into roots and vines and leaves and more potatoes. Just old Mother Nature, you will say, but old Mother Nature must have a remarkable intelligence if she can figure out all these things that no human scientist has ever been able to solve. There must be an all-prevailing intelligence behind Mother Nature, the intelligence that first brought life to this planet, the intelligence that evolved every form of plant and animal, that holds the winds in its grasp, that is all-wise, all-powerful. The potato is but one small manifestation of this intelligence. The various forms of plant life, of animals, of man, all are mere cogs in the great scheme of things. But with this difference, that man is an active part of this universal mind, that he partakes of its creative wisdom and power, and that by consciously drawing to him its vital power, and then working in harmony with universal mind, he can do anything, have anything, be anything. There is within you, within everyone, this mighty, resistless force with which you can perform undertakings that will dazzle your reason, stagger your imagination, and there constantly resides within you a mind that is all-wise, all-powerful, a mind that is entirely apart from the mind which you consciously use in your everyday affairs, the superconscious mind, or higher self. Your subconscious mind partakes of this wisdom and power, and it is through your subconscious mind that you can reach the superconscious and draw upon it in the attainment of anything you may desire. When you can intelligently use your subconscious mind in this way, you can be in communication with that higher self in you, which is a part of the universal mind. You must consciously give of your vital force. You must have the faith to see your higher self doing the things you direct it to do. You must believe it is doing them. And given such faith, all things are possible to you. All around you is the vital force of the universe, the material of which everything is made, and you are the creator, with the God-given power to use that vital force as you please, to make of it what you will. But to create anything of good requires four things. Number one, the mental image of what you want. This is the mold. Number two, knowledge of your power, so you can consciously draw to you all the vital force you need. Breathe it in, and then pour it into your mental mold. 3, faith in your creative power, faith to crystallize the vital force in your mold until it manifests for all to see. 4, doing something to convince your subconscious mind, and through it, the superconscious, that you do believe you have received. For instance, a woman who prayed for a house got a board and nail and kept them before her, affirming that they were the beginning of the house. As I see it, the universal mind is the supreme intelligence and creator of the universe, and we are partakers of the divine attributes. You are part of it. I am part of it. And anything we do that is for the good of all has the support of this universal mind, provided we call upon it. Your silent partner within. While the mental planes lying outside of and beyond the field of ordinary consciousness have been, until recent years, comparatively unexplored by psychologists, and in fact have been almost entirely ignored by Western psychology until modern times, the best thought of the present time is in practical agreement upon the fact that on those hidden planes of mentality are performed the major portion of our mental work, and that in their field are in operation some of the most important of our mental processes. The exploration of these obscure regions of the mind has been one of the most fascinating tasks of modern psychology, and the mines that have yielded rich material in abundance. Many mental phenomena formerly either denied as impossible by the orthodox psychologists, or else regarded by the average person as evidence of supernatural agencies and forces, are now seen to fit perfectly into the natural order of things and to operate accordingly to natural law and order. Not only have such investigations resulted in a greater increase of the scientific knowledge concerning the inner workings of the mind, but they've also served to place in the hands of the more advanced psychologists the material which they have turned to practical and efficient use by means of scientific methods of application. Your I am, your real self, you, are a center of consciousness, subconsciousness, or superconsciousness. All these are but instruments or channels of expression of your real self, the I am I of you. Secret number 2, ambition and desire are 2 keys to success. How to arouse strong ambition. Ambition, what a glorious word. How the very sound of it stirs one's energies, makes one feel the inspiration to be up at work, doing things, succeeding, creating, accomplishing. And what does ambition really mean, pray? It means more than a mere eagerness for things. It means the deep-seated desire to materialize certain ideals which exist in the mind as mental pictures. Before one can accomplish things, he must be possessed of ambition. Before he can feel ambition, he must have the preceding hunger, which causes him to manifest ambition with which to satisfy it, and so it follows. Anything that will stimulate that mental hunger will arouse ambition and thus create that eagerness for action and attainment. And how may that mental hunger be produced? There is a psychological law underlying this mental hunger that manifests as ambition. That law is, in order for mental hunger to be manifested, it must have ideals presented to the mind's eye. Just as the gastric juices of the stomach may be stimulated and caused to flow by the sight, smell, or thought of food, so is this mental hunger produced by the sight, thought, or idea of the things needed for its satisfaction. If you are contented with your present life and want nothing better, it is chiefly because you know nothing better, have seen nothing better, have heard of nothing better, or else you are mentally and physically lazy. Look around you at the successful men of the world in any line of human effort and endeavor, and you will see that they all have ambition strongly developed. They have the fierce craving of desire for things and the firm will which will brook no interference with the satisfaction of the desire. Study the lives of Caesar, Napoleon, and their modern counterparts, the 20th century captains of industry, and you will see the glare of this fierce ambition burning brightly and hotly within them. The trouble with the majority of the people is that they have been taught that one should take what was given him and be content. But this is not nature's way. Nature implants in each living being a strong desire for that which is necessary for its well-being and nourishment, and a strong will to gratify that natural desire. On all sides in nature you may see this law in effect. The plant and the animal obey it and are not afraid. But man, as he ascended the scale of evolution, while seeing the necessity and advantage of curbing and restraining certain tendencies and desires, which, if freely gratified, could work harm on himself and upon society, has swung to the other extreme. In cutting off the dead branches of desire, he has lopped off some live ones at the same time. That is, the majority of men have. The few who haven't reached out and gathered to themselves the good things of life, throwing the cores and leavings to the rest. The magic secret. The answer is simply that you have never focused your desires into one great dominating desire. You have a host of mild desires. You mildly wish you were rich. You wish you had a position of responsibility and influence. You wish you could travel at will. The wishes are so many and varied that they conflict with each other and you get nowhere in particular. You lack one intense desire, to the accomplishment of which you are willing to subordinate everything else. Do you know how Napoleon so frequently won battles in the face of a numerically superior foe? By concentrating his men at the actual point of contact. His artillery was often greatly outnumbered, but it accomplished far more than the enemy's because instead of scattering his fire, he concentrated it all on the point of attack. The time you put in aimlessly dreaming and wishing would accomplish marvels if it were concentrated on one definite object. If you have ever taken a magnifying glass and let the sun's rays play through it on some object, you know that as long as the rays are scattered, they accomplish nothing, but focus them on one tiny spot and see how quickly they start something. It's the same way with your mind. You have to concentrate on one idea at a time. But how can I learn to concentrate? Many people ask. Concentration is not a thing to be learned. It is merely a thing to do. You concentrate whenever you become sufficiently interested in anything. Get so interested in a ball game that you jump up and down on your hat, slap a man you have never seen before on the back, embrace your nearest neighbor. That's concentration. Become so absorbed in a thrilling play or movie that you no longer realize the orchestra is playing or there are people around you. That is concentration. And that is all concentration ever is. Getting so interested in some one thing that you pay no attention to anything else that is going on around you. If you want a thing badly enough, you need to have no worry about your ability to concentrate on it. Your thoughts will just naturally center on it like bees on honey. In his experiments at Duke University, Dr. J.B. Rhine has shown that the mind can definitely influence inanimate objects, but only when there is intense interest or desire. When the subject's interest was distracted, when he failed to concentrate his attention, he had no power over the object. It was only as he gave his entire attention to it, concentrated his every energy upon it, that he got successful results. Strong desire essential to success. Desire power is one of the many phases of personal power, of that personal power which flows into and through the individual from that great source of the all power of all things, which in this instruction is known as power. You do not create your own personal power of any kind, though you may modify it, adapt it, develop it, and direct it. Power, the source of all power, has always existed and will always exist. You generate personal power by drawing upon the great source and fount of all power, by opening your natural channels to its inflow, and by supplying it with the proper physical and mental mechanism by means of which it is enabled to express and manifest itself efficiently. An old writer once said, "Few speakers succeed who attempt merely to make people think. They want to be made to feel. People will pay liberally to be made to feel or to laugh, while they will begrudge a sixpence for instruction or talk that will make them think." The reasons are palpable and plain. It is heart against head, soul against logic, and soul is bound to win every time. Cardinal Newman once said, "The heart is commonly reached not through reason, but through the imagination, by means of direct impressions, by descriptions. Persons influence us, voices melt us, deeds inflame us." One has but to recall instances of the great influence exerted over the public mind by the emotional appeals to affection or dislike, to prejudices as for or against, to desires, ambitions, aspirations, cravings, longings, and things eagerly wanted, made by orators, politicians, statesmen, actors, and preachers, in order to realize the potent effect of emotion, affection, and desire upon men's thoughts, opinions, beliefs, and convictions. A modern writer says, "A large part of the business of life consists in moving the emotions and desires of men so as to get them to act." Another says, "The successful man is he who is able to persuade the crowd that he has something that they want, or that they want something that he has." The successful salesman, advertising man, or any other man who has things to sell other men, all bring into the play the force of desire in those whom they are seeking to interest in their projects. They appeal to the want, or want to, side of the mind of men. They play upon men's sympathies, their prejudices, their hopes, their fears, their desires, their aversions. Men do things and act because of the motive power of their emotional nature, particularly in the form of affection and desire. And this is the only reason impelling or influencing men to do things. Were this motive power absent, there would be no action or doing of things. There would be no reason or cause for such action or doing in that event. We act and do solely because we like and want. Were the emotional element absent, there would be no element of volition. Without desire, we would make no choices, would exercise no decision, would perform no actions. Without the want and want to, there would be no will to do and no doing. Desire is the motive power of action. Take away the motive power, and there cannot be and will not be any movement, action, or volition. Without the motive power of desire, the machinery of voluntary action ceases to operate and comes to a complete standstill. Magnetic power of desire. The strongest and most persistent desires of the individual tend to attract to him or him to that which is closely related to or correlated with those desires. That is to say, the strong, insistent desires of a person tend to attract to him those things which are closely related to such desires, and at the same time tend to attract him toward those related things. The attractive desire of desire operates in two general ways. Visualize, number one, to attract to the individual the things closely related to his desires, and number two, to attract the individual to such related things. In your own experience, in all probability, you have experienced many cases of the operation of this subtle law of nature. You have become intensely interested in some particular subject, and your desire for further progress and attainment along the lines of that subject has been actively aroused. Then you've noticed the strange and peculiar way in which persons and things related to that subject have come under your observation and attention, sometimes even being apparently forced upon you apart from any act on your part. In the same way, you found yourself attracted in certain directions in which, unknown to you, were to be found persons or things related to the subject of your desire, information concerning that subject, conditions in which the subject was involved or being manifested. In short, you have found that things happened as if you were either attracting persons, things, and circumstances to you, or else that you were being attracted, drawn, or led to such persons, things, or circumstances. So the master formula for getting what you want, the master formula of attainment, stated in popular form as it follows: you may have anything you want, provided that you, 1, know exactly what you want, 2, want it hard enough, 3, confidently expect to attain it, and 4, persistently determined to obtain it. and 5 are willing to pay the price of its attainment. When you consider the question, exactly what do I want, you will first regard it as one quite easy to answer. But after you begin to consider the question in detail and in real earnest, you will discover 2 very troublesome obstacles in your way on the road to the correct answer. The 2 obstacles are as follows. 1, the difficulty in ascertaining a clear and full idea of your desires, aspirations, ambitions, and hopes. And 2, the difficulty in ascertaining which ones of a number of conflicting desires, aspirations, ambitions, and hopes you want more than you do those opposing them. You will find yourself with the divine discontent of a general dissatisfaction with your present condition, circumstances, possessions, and limitations. You will feel perhaps strongly the raw desire of the elemental desire power within you, but you will not have clearly outlined in your mind the particular directions in which you wish that elemental force to proceed into manifestation and expression. Self-analysis. You will find that a scientific application of the principle of self-analysis or mental stock-taking will aid you materially in overcoming the 2 great obstacles in the path of attainment, which we have just mentioned. Self-analysis in this case consists of a careful analysis of your elements of desire, to the end that you may discover which of these elements are the strongest and that you may clearly understand just what these strongest elements are really like in character. You are advised to think with pencil and paper in this work of self-analysis. It will greatly aid you in crystallizing your thoughts. Besides, you'll give a definite and logical pattern to the results of your work. The following suggestions and advice will aid you materially in this task. Begin by asking yourself the question, what are my strongest desires? What do I want and want to over and above anything and everything else? What are my highest desire values? Then proceed to think with pencil and paper, and thus to answer this important question just stated. Take your pencil and begin to write down your strongest desires, your leading wants and want-tos, as they come into your consciousness in response to your inquiry. Write down carefully the things and objects, the aims and ideals, the aspirations and ambitions, the hopes and confident expectations which present themselves for notation in the course of your mental stock-taking. Note all of them without regard to the question of whether or not you ever expect to be able to secure or attain them. Put them all down on the list, no matter how ridiculous and unattainable they may seem to you at the time. Do not allow yourself to be overcome by the magnificent aims and ideals, aspirations and ambitions, which thus present themselves. Their very existence in your desire nature is, in a measure, the prophecy of their own fulfillment. As Napoleon once said, nothing is too magnificent for a soldier of France. You are that soldier of France. Do not impose limitations on your desire nature in this way. If a magnificent desire is within you, it should be respected. So put it down on the list. By this process of self-analysis, you bring to the surface of your consciousness all the various feelings, desires, longings, and cravings which have been dwelling in your subconscious mind. And many of these deep desires are like sleeping giants, and your exploration of your subconscious mental regions will arouse these, will cause them to sit up and take notice, as it were. Do not be frightened by these awakening sleepers. Nothing that you find there is alien to you. You must know exactly what you want, but must also want it hard enough and be willing to pay the price of its attainment. Having considered the first 3 requisites for obtaining that which you want, we ask you now to consider the second requisite, that of wanting it hard enough. You may think that you want it hard enough when you have a rather keen desire or longing for anything, but when you compare your feeling with that of people manifesting really strong, insistent desire, you will find that you are but merely manifesting a wish for that which you have an inclination or an attachment, compared to the insistent want or want to of thoroughly aroused desire. Your wish is but as a shadow. The chances are that you have been a mere amateur, a dilettante in the art and science of wanting and wanting to. Very few persons really know how to want or want to in such manner as to arouse fully the elemental forces of desire power. An old Oriental fable illustrates the nature of desire aroused to its fullest extent, and the fable relates that a teacher took his pupil out on a deep lake in a boat, and then suddenly pushed him overboard. The youth sank beneath the surface of the water, but rose in a few seconds, gasping for breath. Without giving him time to fill his lungs with air, the teacher forcibly pushed him under once more. The youth rose to the surface the second time and was again pushed under. He rose for the third time, almost entirely exhausted. This time, the teacher pulled him up over the side of the boat and employed the usual methods to restore him to normal breathing. When the youth had fully recovered from his severe ordeal, the teacher said to him, "Tell me what was the one thing that you desired above all other things before I pulled you in. The one desire to which all other desires seemed like tiny candles compared with the sun?" The youth replied, "Oh, sir, above all else, I desired air to breathe. For me, at that time, there existed no other desires." "Then," said the teacher, "let this then be the measure of your desire for those things to the attainment of which your life is devoted." You will not fully realize the measure of desire pointed out in this fable unless you employ your imagination in the direction of feeling yourself in the drowning condition of the youth. Until you do this, the fable is a mere matter of words. When you can realize in feeling, as well as recognize in thought, the strength of the desire for air present in that youth, then and only then will you be able to manifest in expression a similar degree of desire for the objects of your prime wants and want-tos. Do not rest satisfied with the intellectual recognition of the condition. Induce the corresponding emotional feeling in yourself to as great a degree as possible. Secret number 3, find your goal and purpose in life. The law of supply. They do me wrong who say I come no more, when once I knock and fail to find you in. For every day I stand outside your door, and bid you wake, and rise to fight and win. Wail not for precious chances passed away, weep not for golden ages on the wane. Each night I burn the records of the day. At sunrise every soul is born again. Walter Malone. Have you ever run a race or worked at utmost capacity for a protracted period or swam a great distance? Remember how soon after starting you began to feel tired? Remember how before you had gone any great distance you thought you had reached your limit? But remember, too, how when you kept going you got your second wind. Your tiredness vanished. Your muscles throbbed with energy. You felt literally charged with speed and endurance. Stored in every human being are great reserves of energy of which the average individual knows nothing. Most people are like a man who drives a car in low gear, not knowing that by the simple shift of a lever he can set it in high and not merely speed up the car, but do it with far less expenditure of power. The law of the universe is the law of supply. You see it on every hand. Nature is lavish in everything she does. Look at the heavens at night. There are millions of stars there, millions of worlds, millions of suns among them. Surely there is no lack of wealth or profusion in the mind that could image all of these. No place for limitation there. Look at the vegetation in the country round about you. Nature supplies all that the shrubs or trees may need for their growth and sustenance. Look at the lower forms of animal life, the birds and wild animals, the reptiles, the insects, the fish in the sea. Nature supplies them bountifully with everything they need. They have but to help themselves to what she holds out to them with such lavish hand. Look at all the natural resources of the world, coal and iron and oil and metals. There is enough for everyone. The world belongs to you. It's your estate. It owes you not merely a living, but everything of good you may desire. You must demand these things of it, though. You must fear naught, dread naught, stop at naught. You must have the faith of Columbus, crossing an unknown sea, holding a mutinous crew to the task long after they had ceased to believe in themselves or in him, and giving to the world a new hemisphere. You must have the faith of Washington, defeated, discredited, almost wholly deserted by his followers, yet holding steadfast in spite of all, and giving to America a new liberty. You must dominate, not cringe. You must make the application of the law of supply. Consider the lilies, how they grow. The flowers, the birds, all of creation are incessantly active. The trees and flowers in their growth, the birds and wild creatures in building their nests and finding sustenance are always working, but never worrying. Your Father knoweth that ye have need of these things, and all these things shall be added unto you. Visualizing your goals. Treasure mapping for supply. So many people have won success and happiness by making treasure maps to more easily visualize the things they wanted. You never can tell when you do an act just what the result will be. But with every deed you are sowing a seed, though the harvest you may not see. Each kindly act is an acorn dropped in God's productive soil. You may not know, but the tree shall grow with shelter for those who toil. You never can tell what your thought will do in bringing you hate or love. For thoughts are things, and their airy wings are swifter than carrier doves. They follow the law of the universe. Each thing must create its kind, and they speed o'er the track to bring you back whatever went out from your mind. Ella Wheeler Wilcox. Secret number 4, faith in yourself and in your inner mind, the formula of success. One ship drives east and another drives west with the selfsame winds that blow. 'Tis the set of the sails and not the gales which tells us the way they go. Like the waves of the sea are the waves of fate as we voyage along through life. 'Tis the set of the soul which decides its goal and not the calm or the strife. Ella Wheeler Wilcox. What is the eternal question which stands up and looks you and every sincere man squarely in the eye every morning? How can I better my condition? That's the real-life question which confronts you and will haunt you every day till you solve it. All wealth depends upon a clear understanding of the fact that mind, thought, is the only creator. The great business of life is thinking. Control your thoughts, and you control circumstance. Just as the first law of gain is desire, so the formula of success is faith. Believe that you have it. See it as an existent fact, and anything you can rightly wish for is yours. To begin with, all wealth depends upon a clear understanding of the fact that mind, thought, is the only creator. The great business of life is thinking. Control your thoughts and you control circumstance. Just as the first law of gain is desire, so the formula of success is faith. Believe that you have it. See it as an existent fact, and anything you can rightly wish for is yours. It may be that you have been deluded by the thought of incompetence. It may be that you have been told so often that you cannot do certain things that you've come to believe you can't. Remember that success or failure is merely a state of mind. Believe you cannot do a thing, and you can't. Know that you can do it, and you will. You must see yourself doing it. If you think you are beaten, you are. If you think you dare not, you don't. If you'd like to win, but you think you can't, it's almost a cinch you won't. If you think you'll lose, you've lost. For out in the world you'll find success begins with a fellow's will. It's all in the state of mind. Full many a race is lost, ere even a race is run, and many a coward fails, ere even his work's begun. Think big, and your deeds will grow. Think small, and you fall behind. Think that you can, and you will. It's all in the state of mind. If you think you are outclassed, you are. You've got to think high to rise. You've got to be sure of yourself before you can ever win a prize. Life's battle doesn't go to the stronger or faster man. But sooner or later, the man who wins is the fellow who thinks he can. A positive mental attitude wins success. You remember the saying of the sacred writer, "As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he." A truer statement never was uttered. For every man or woman is what he or she is by reason of what he or she has thought. We have thought ourselves into what we are. One's place in life is largely determined by his mental attitude. Mental attitude is the result of the current of one's thoughts, ideas, ideals, feelings, and beliefs. You're constantly at work building up a mental attitude, which is not only making your character, but which is also having its influence upon the outside world, both in the direction of your effect upon other people, as well as your quality of attracting toward yourself that which is in harmony with the prevailing mental state held by you. Is it not most important, then, that this building should be done with the best possible materials, according to the best plan, with the best tools? A positive mental attitude wins financial success. Before going any further, let us define the word positive and its opposite, negative, and then see how the former wins success and the latter attracts failure. In the sense in which I use the terms, positive means confident expectation, self-confidence, courage, initiative, energy, optimism, expectation of good, not evil, of wealth, not poverty, belief in one's self and in the law, etc. Negative means fear, worry, expectation of undesirable things, lack of confidence in oneself and the law, etc. To develop faith power for successful living. To you, faith has no doubt been a term properly applied in sermons and theological books, but which has little or no practical place or meaning in the world of action and deeds, and in the world in which most of us live most of our time and perform most of our actions. We assure you that faith power is something having a most intimate and important relation to personal power along practical lines, and is something which, in the current phrase, you need in your business. Mr. Leon Jolson, president of the huge Netchai sewing machine company, is today worth many millions of dollars. A few years ago, he was a poor Polish immigrant who couldn't even speak English. The newspaper account of his spectacular rise to success quoted him as saying, "I had unfaltering faith. I prayed for guidance every step of the way. I used head and footwork." The general conception of faith, the idea of faith held by most persons, is that it is an emotional state independent of, if not indeed actually contrary to, reason. However, we believe that the most important reasoning of practical everyday life is based on faith. We do not know positively that the sun will rise tomorrow morning. All that we know is that in the history of the race, the sun always has risen in the morning, and we believe that it will continue the practice on the morrow. But we do not know absolutely that such will be the case. We cannot prove it absolutely by argument, even by mathematics, unless we admit the existence of universal law or the law of causation, whereby the same causes under the same conditions will produce the same effects. You may object to this as being silly, but it is the strictest application of the rules and laws of practical thought. Of course, you say that we know that the sun will rise tomorrow morning and can even tell to a second the time of its rising. And certainly we know this, but we know it only by an act of faith. That faith, moreover, is the belief that there exists universal law, that natural things act and move under law, that the same causes under the same conditions produce the same results. The mighty subconscious mind. The subconscious, that great field or plane of mental activity, is the seat of far greater power and the source of far deeper and broader streams of mental force than the average person even begins to realize. In that field, or on that plane, are performed over 75% of man's mental activities. Our mental world is far more extensive than we usually conceive it to be. It has great comparatively unsounded depths and equally grand comparatively unscaled heights. The explored and charted areas of our conscious mentality are incidental and subordinate to those broad areas of which even the brightest minds of our race have merely explored the borderland, the expanded, uncharted interior of the strange country still awaiting the exploring expeditions of the future. Our position in relation to this great terra incognita of the mind is similar to that of the ancient civilized world toward the earth as a whole. We are as yet awaiting the Columbus who will explore the western continent of the mind, and the Livingstones and Stanleys who will furnish us with maps of the mental darkest Africa. Yet even the comparatively small explored areas of the subconscious have revealed to us a wonderful land, a land filled with the richest raw materials, precious metals, wonderful species of animal and plant life, and our daring investigators have discovered means of applying and using some of the wonderful things which have been discovered in even that borderland of the new mental world. The subconscious entertains deep-rooted convictions and beliefs concerning the general success or non-success of the individual. The person who has constantly impressed upon his subconscious mentality that he is unlucky and that fate is against me has created a tremendous power within himself which acts as a brake or obstacle to his successful achievement. He has created an enemy within himself which serves to hold him back and which fights against every inner effort in the direction of success. And this hidden enemy hampers his full efforts and cripples his activity. How to develop enthusiasm for your work. Faith is the underlying principle of that remarkable quality of the human mind which is known as enthusiasm. It is its essence. It is its substance. It is its actuating principle. Without faith, there can be no manifestation of enthusiasm. Without faith, there can be no expression of the activities of enthusiasm. Without faith, there can be no exhibition of the energies of enthusiasm. Without faith, the quality of enthusiasm remains dormant, latent, and static. Faith is needed to arouse it, to render it active, to cause it to become dynamic. Moreover, the faith required for the manifestation and expression of enthusiasm must be positive faith, faith in the successful outcome of the undertaking, faith exhibiting its positive phases, faith in the attainment of that which is desirable and which is regarded as good. You can never manifest enthusiasm toward that which you confidently expect to be a failure, nor toward that which you feel will bring undesirable results and effects. Negative faith has no power to arouse enthusiasm. The presence of positive faith is necessary to awaken this wonderful latent mental or spiritual force. Believe in yourself. Among the many characteristics and qualities which make for success of the individual, there's none more fundamental, essential, and basic than that of self-confidence and self-reliance, both of these being but expressions of the idea of faith in oneself. The man who has faith in himself not only brings under his control and direction those wonderful powers of his subconscious mentality and the full power of his conscious mental faculties and instruments, but also tends to inspire a similar feeling in the minds and hearts of those other individuals with whom he comes in contact in the course of his pursuit of the objects of his endeavors. An intuitive perception and realization of one's own powers and energies, capacity and efficiency, possibilities and capabilities, is an essential attribute of the individual who is destined to success. A study of the world of men will disclose the fact that those men who eventually succeed, who arrive, ultimately, who do things, are marked by this deep intuitive faith in themselves and by their confident expectation of ultimate success. These men rise superior to the incidents of temporary defeat. They use these failures as stepping stones to ultimate victory. They are living expressions of Henley's Invictus. They indeed are the masters of their fate, the captains of their souls. Such men are really never defeated. Like rubber balls, they have that bounce, which causes them to rise triumphantly after each fall. The harder they are thrown down, the higher do they rise on the rebound. Such men are always possible, nay, probable, and certain victors, so long as they maintain this intuitive faith in self or self-confidence. It is only when this is lost that they are really defeated or destroyed. Infinite loves you. Become an invincible soul. The message of truth. You yourself, in your essential and real being, nature and entity, are spirit, and not but spirit, in and of spirit, spiritual and not material. Materiality is your instrument of expression, the stuff created for your use and service in your expression of life, consciousness, and will. It is your servant, not your master. You condition, limit, and form it, not it you. There exists a greater underlying something that is beneficent and well-disposed toward you, and which tries to help, aid, and assist you whenever and wherever it can do so. Faith and confident expectation regarding the beneficent power of that something tends to open the channels of its influence in your life, while doubt, unbelief, distrust, and fear tend to dam up the channel of its influence in your life and rob it of the power to help you. To a great extent, at least, you determine your own life by the character of your thought. By the nature and character of your thoughts, you furnish the pattern of mold which determines or modifies the efforts of the something to aid you, either in the direction of producing desirable results or else in bringing about undesirable results by reason of your damming up the sources of your good. Creative imagination brings financial rewards. The mastermind. The connecting link between the human and the divine, between the formed universe and formless energy, lies in your imagining faculty. It is of all things human, the most godlike. It is our part of divinity. Through it, we share in the creative power of the heaven mind, and through it, we can turn the most drab existence into a thing of life and beauty. It is the means by which we avail ourselves of all the good which God is constantly offering to us in such profusion. It is the means by which we can reach any goal, win any prize. Do you want happiness? Do you want success? Do you want position, power, riches? Image them. How did God first make man? In his image created he him. He imaged man in his mind. And that is the way everything has been made since time began. It was first imaged in mind. And that is the way everything you want must start, with a mental image. So use your imagination. Picture in it your heart's desire. Imagine it. Daydream it so vividly, so clearly that you will actually believe you have it. In the moment that you carry this conviction to your subconscious mind, in that moment, your dream will become a reality. It may be a while before you realize it, but the important part is done. You have created the model. You can safely leave it to your subconscious mind to do the rest. Are you creative? Imagination, Albert Einstein once said, is more important than knowledge, for knowledge is limited, whereas imagination embraces the whole world, stimulating progress, giving birth to evolution. What is true of science holds equally well for American business. One need only recall Samuel Colt's idea of mass-producing revolvers or Henry Ford's $5 day to see the power that imagination has had. And never has business been more aware than today of the hard profits to be gained from the soaring world of the mind. In proof, one need only look at the welter of suggestion plans that bombard even the plant janitor, or the cost reduction committees and work simplification groups that have been proliferated through American history. With competition so fiercely intense, every individual cooperation desperately needs new ideas. Ideas in marketing, production, transportation, and every other phase of business. But is the corporation getting those ideas? More to the point, is it getting them from the executives it hires not only to manage its affairs, but to point them in new directions? Now, you are asked to consider a wonderful phase of personal power which is latent, inherent, and abiding within you, the power of imagination. And this power is a phase of your personal power. Your personal power, in turn, is a phase of the manifestation of that power, which is the source of all power and which is expressed, manifested, and employed in all phases of power of which you have or can possibly have any cognizance. The struggle for existence is still underway. The survival of the fittest is a fact of modern human existence, as well as of the past history of the race and of the world in general. But now, more than ever, constructive imagination is the great element of the struggle, the great standard of the fitness to survive, succeed, and accomplish. The people, the race, the nation, and the individual possessing the greatest degree of development and application of continuous and persistent constructive imagination will be found to be the fittest to survive, all else being equal, and will prove to be the ultimate winner in the struggle for existence. If man has ever succeeded by the Superman, as some have predicted, it will be found that the Superman is possessed of superior powers of constructive imagination and of greater faculty of exercising and applying them. And such is the law of evolution, of progress, and of life. In the process of efficient constructive imagination, directed by a definite purpose and toward a determined end, you will find it advantageous to follow the general rule. Number 1, create a clear mental picture of the general idea representing your definite purpose. Number 2, form a comprehensive picture of the whole field of the proposed undertaking. 3, make a written list of all the probable factors involved in the problem or undertaking. 4, classify these ideas, elements, and factors according to their general nature, their general uses. 5, weigh the various factors one against the other, taking into consideration the associated and related values of each in the general idea, plan, or purpose. Number 6, having reached at least a fairly satisfactory working plan, idea, invention, or solution of your problem, you should then carefully detach yourself from it. You should move from your personal point of view and try to see it as others will see. Try to imagine the effect it will have on the persons whom you wish to be interested in your finished product, how it will meet their requirements, satisfy their wants, arouse their desires for it. mental laboratory. The third section of the general rule tells you to make a written list of all the probable factors involved in the problem or undertaking. Compile a list of all the probable elements involved in the working out of the matter. Gather together all of the ideas of the things that are likely to be called into the creative process. Have within easy reach the ideas of all the materials likely to be employed in the construction of the ideal form which you wish to materialize. And here you proceed to supply the constructive imagination with the raw materials for its creative processes. You have seen that the constructive imagination does not and cannot create something out of nothing. Instead, it creates by combination, adaptation, adjustment, transformation, always employing the material which you furnish it for the purpose. Therefore, you must supply it with the kind of mental images which are best adapted for the creation of the new forms, images or ideas which contribute to the manifestation of your definite purpose, your definite central idea. This material, composed of mental images, is then employed both by your conscious mentality and by your subconscious mentality, in their work of weaving or fusing the fabric or form of the necessary new images. You would discover these associations by asking yourself, number 1, what is this thing? 2, of what is it composed? 3, what is its purpose? 4, for whose use is it intended? 5, what is its past history, its evolutionary story? 6, what are the things most resembling it? 7, what thing is most unlike it, its opposite? And many more questions of that sort. You would seek to fill your mind with all the essential images connected with or related to your subject. Most failures in life are due to weak wills. How to consciously cultivate the will to win life's battles as thousands of others have done. The reason that only one man succeeds to every 10 that fail in business must be due to some vital characteristic lacking in those who do not succeed in their undertaking and a trait possessed by the comparatively few who do. In making an analysis of the attributes of great men in every field of endeavor, the one predominating characteristic seems to be an indomitable will. Personally, I've never heard of a man succeeding without a will of his own, and I know of no failures who do not lack willpower. These facts any man can verify to his own satisfaction by merely recalling the predominating characteristics of both classes of men of his own acquaintance. Everyone knows what can be accomplished by exercising the brain. Our whole educational system is founded upon the theory that the brain can be developed in proportion to the amount of intelligent exercise and use to which it is put. For years, scientists have known that the same is true of the will, that the will can be made indomitable by intelligent exercise and use. The trouble has been that until now, no one has ever devoted their attention to the cultivation of the will, and since we have never been taught to use it, most of us don't know how. The human will is an actual living force. It is just as much an active force of nature as is electricity, magnetism, or any other form of natural force. Will is as real as energy, as is gravitation. From Adam to man, desire and will are in evidence. First comes the desire to do a thing, and then comes the will that does it. It is an invariable law pervading all natural forms, shapes, degrees of things, animate and inanimate. Nothing is impossible to the man who can will, providing he can will sufficiently strong, and as will depends so much upon one's belief in his ability. If you will try to combine all that I have thus far said into an energetic, aggressive, intrepid plan of action, you will experience the thrill of power as you read the following classic from the great Victor Hugo, which you may interpret, Victor, you go. Human thought attains in certain men its maximum intensity. The human mind has a summit, and this summit is the ideal. In each age, men of genius undertake the ascent. From below, the world follows them with their eyes. And these men go up the mountain, enter the clouds, disappear, reappear. People watch them, mark them. They walk by the side of precipices. They daringly pursue their road. See them aloft, see them in the distance. They are but black specks. On they go. The road is uneven, its difficulties constant. At each step a wall, at each step a trap. As they rise, the cold increases. They must make their ladder, cut the ice, and walk on it, hewing the steps in haste. A storm is raging. Nevertheless, they go forward in their madness. The air becomes difficult to breathe. The abyss yawns below them. Some fall, others stop and retrace their steps. There is a sad weariness. The bold ones continue. They are eyed by the eagles. The lightning plays about them. The hurricane is furious. No matter, they persevere. They reach the pinnacle. They are supermen. They are conquering chiefs. Go you and profit by their example.